Okay, what I have here are my seed packs that I get from my good friend Ed Curry. These are organic Carolina Reaper seeds from Puckerbutt. It says germination 4 to 6 weeks. I will see some that take a little longer, coming close to that 4 to 6 week period. But the way that I'm going to set up and do it, I generally will start to see the first couple of seeds popping out in about 7 days. So I just have a little glass dish here. You can see some of the seeds in there. I'm going to put the other pack in there. And right here what I have is I just boiled some water. You can still see it's still steaming. And I have chamomile tea brewing right now. I'm going to let that steep for a little bit. And the chamomile tea acts almost like an antibacterial and antiseptic for the seeds. So if there's any latent nasties on the seeds, this will help kill that off. So I'm starting with good, clean seeds. And I'm going to soak these guys with this tea. Once it cools off and once it steeps to a little stronger, I'm going to soak those for a good 12 hours. I'm going to do it overnight actually tonight. I'll probably get those into my medium tomorrow and I will show you exactly how I do that. But this is the first step, is getting the seeds wet, soaking them, and getting those seed casings nice and soft so the seeds will be able to push through and start germinating. This is my germination tray, and you can see I've got the seeds sitting right on top of these individual rock wool cubes that you want to make sure that you bring those to, and these are some other seeds I planted a couple of days ago. You want to make sure that you take the rock wool cube out of the packaging, and then you have to soak the rock wool for at least an hour in pH appropriate water to bring the pH of the rock wool cubes themselves down to the appropriate pH for the seeds to really begin germinating. And that's anywhere between 6.0 and 6.5 pH. So a little bit acidic, nothing crazy, but that's generally the pH that you're going to want to maintain for your peppers in your growing environment, be it in the soil, in hydroponics, or whatever. That 6.0 is kind of the sweet spot. Sometimes I get a little lower than that, and I try and adjust it up, but roughly about that 6.0 between 6.5 pH. So what I do is, you can see I've laid out 2 seeds per cube, and I'm going to go along, and I just have like a little bamboo skewer or toothpick or whatever that I can kind of make a little incision into the rock wool, just enough to kind of push the base of that seed down into the rock wool. And then I'll use the sort of blunt end to just barely push that seed in. You don't want to go more than about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch down. They don't need to go very deep. That because you want to try and keep the warmth on the seed from above, from the lights. So that's kind of where I'm at. These are all Carolina Reapers. I've got chocolate Reapers, and I also have some ghost chilies over here that I'm going to be growing this season for a special project. But generally, I'm going to have all Reapers in the hydroponics this year, and this is kind of what they look like for the next part of the germination. So we've soaked the seeds in chamomile tea to kind of get them started and triggered into begin germination, getting that cellular action started. And now we're putting them into their initial growing medium in the seedling tray. This is a 50 cell tray that's got the bottom kind of layer that holds the water, and then the actual cell tray on top. And as you can see, there's a little bit of standing water in here, just enough to touch the bottom of the cubes so the cubes stay moist. And then I'll show you over here. What I do is I bring them into a heat mat, which warms the bottom. And then I've got a T5 fluorescent light that's got, what was that, 4 fluorescent T5 bulbs in there, which is a full spectrum. And that really just helps get the light, get the heat, keep that chamber at a good 85 to 90 degrees for germination. And once I get the things starting to poke through, I start to see blooms, or I start to see the seedlings pop out. You can see the condensation on the top of the lid there, which is good. It's a good sign they're not dried out. There's good moisture in there. I'll refill those off every couple of days as they evaporate a little bit. So that's what we got. I'm going to put the rest of these seeds in here and we'll go from there. So from how I do mine with the soak overnight in the tea, there are many other ways that you can start your seeds for proper germination. You can use plain water out of the tap. You can use dechlorinated water, which is just tap water that you let sit out for 24 hours, which will allow the chlorine in your water to sort of gas off, which is more recommended. You can use boiled water that is cooled down. That'll help off gas any of the residual chlorine and other things in there. You can use water that has some diluted hydrogen peroxide in there to help clean the seeds of any bacteria. I don't recommend using the brown stuff you get in the brown bottle from the pharmacy or the grocery store. That 3% hydrogen peroxide has other chemicals in there to keep that solution stable. If you get food grade hydrogen peroxide, that will be much better for your seeds and you won't have any weird chemicals going on there that will coat your seeds for the rest of the season. You can stick them between a couple of moist paper towels into a Ziploc bag. Keep that pretty much zipped. Keep checking on those every couple of days. And once you start seeing the root hairs popping out and the roots in the germination is typically when you can transfer those into seed starter mix, peat moss, whatever it is you use to put your seed starters into. My seeds that I'm starting are going to go hydroponic. So I'm going to put them right into the growing medium that I use to start my seeds, which is rock wool. And I will show you all about that in the next episode, so you can sort of see my next step. But getting started with germination is fairly easy. Just want to get those seeds moist, hopefully with some clean water or some antiseptic water, just to kind of clean any nasties off and really just trigger that reaction in the cells to begin growing and begin putting out a root and a shoot. And that's Germination 101. All right, guys.